integrity of the legal process and contributing to the overall well functioning of the local judicial system.
Tonight, we are joined by current Superior Court Judge Gregory Krice, who has sat in the position since 2017 following an appointment by then Governor Jerry Brown and is seeking re-election. During the last election cycle, Krice ran unopposed. However, tonight we are also joined by his challenger, public defense attorney April Van Dyke. Both Krice and Van Dyke will appear on the March 5th ballot. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Tonight,
Thank you for having me.
Tonight, we will be asking the candidates the same series of questions with 3 minutes to respond and 1 minute rebuttal. None of the candidates tonight have been given the questions in advance. Listeners can submit questions to our engineer by calling 707-923-3911. However, we will not be taking callers live on the air. We thank you for your understanding. You can also submit your questions on our live social media feed. Just search KMA News.
And we begin with introductions, and we will start in reverse alphabetical order. April Van Dyke, 3 minutes on the clock.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. Thank you, Lauren and Lisa, for moderating and keeping time. So my name is April Van Dyke, and I'm running for Superior Court Judge for Humboldt County. I'm proud to call Humboldt County my home. My kids go to public school here, and I own a home with a little backyard homestead with 7 chickens now. I love Humboldt, but I know that I can get even better. I've been described as an outsider, a newcomer, a spoiler. I don't know if I would describe myself that way, but I'm certainly not an insider. I'm the daughter of a mechanic and a school teacher. I spent most of my childhood living in a trailer. My mom was the first in our family to graduate from college, and I'm the first and only lawyer. When I graduated from law school, I represented clients that could not afford an attorney. I've worked in public defense my entire legal career. My service in public defense has strengthened my resolve to continue upholding fairness within the legal system. This experience provided me a firsthand look at the ways the legal system falls short of the promise of equal treatment and gave me insight on where the legal system can improve to provide justice for everyone. I'm not an insider. I'm an average person, just like everyone listening today. I want to see everyone in my community succeed, no matter who they are, who they know, or how much money they have. I am not an insider. I have not maintained the status quo while the Black members of our community are charged with crimes at a rate 3 times that of the white population. I have not maintained the status quo while the members of our Native community are charged twice that of their white counterparts and sentenced to life at a rate 4 times that of the white community. I was the first attorney in Humboldt County to bring a motion under the Racial Justice Act. And as a judge, I will continue to speak to the disparate treatment of people of color in our community. I hope to bring a restorative justice program to Humboldt County where victims and perpetrators of crime can seek healing in a moderated environment. Participation in restorative justice programs have been shown to decrease recidivism and restore faith in the legal system of the victims. I hope for a dedicated mental health court in Humboldt County. Consistent check-ins and accountability with the court is a recipe for success for the clients as well as the community as a whole. I'm April Van Dyke, and I ask you to vote for a judge that Humboldt can be proud of and choose me for Humboldt Superior Court Judge this March. Thank you.
Thank you. And Judge Gregory Krice, 3 minutes on the clock.
All right, thank you, and thank you for having me and April, for us to tell this community why I should continue to be the judge. I sit on a bench with a group of judges that strive for equal justice for all. I first came up here. I grew up in Minnesota. My mom and dad were in the public school system. I too am the first attorney. I moved to Humboldt County in 1990. Went to Humboldt State University. Got my degree in social science with an emphasis in ethnic studies, Native American studies. Got to know the local tribal leaders at that time because some of them were my teachers. Jack Norton out of Hoopa was one of them. That spurred on my passion for equality. That, with the addition of the civil rights movement, made me think at the time when I moved up here, environmental law. And then I saw how the environmental movement was going, and I thought, they seem like they're covered. I really wanted to get involved in civil rights, and that's what I did. After I left Humboldt County with a degree in 1995, I then went on to law school. During law school, I worked for California Indian Legal Services, striving for equality for them. And I did whatever tribal governments asked me to do as their advocate. I was at a law firm at that time, wasn't a lawyer yet, after CILS. And at that point, I decided I really wanted to get into the courtroom to address equal access to and equal justice for everybody, no matter what color you were, no matter what background you came from. And that's what I strive for. That's what the current bench strives for. And I think that if you look at the facts and you look at what's going on here, that's what every judge does. We do what the law allows us to do. We don't get to decide what's charged, who's charged, how they're charged. I relate with April and what she's saying. I did a Murgia motion when I had an African-American client who felt like they were charging him because he was African-American. I had my staff at the public defender's office at the time look into that and determine, is that true? In that particular case, in his particular background, it was not true, but we looked into it. I was a public defender at a contract office in Placer County for over 7 years. I then moved up to Humboldt. I'd had my interest card in Humboldt for about 2 years, and I finally got back up, did that for 7.5 years. I was promoted and then appointed by the governor because he saw.
Oh. And sorry, Judge Christ, your 3 minutes was up there. I apologize, but we actually will go to our questions, and we start this round with you. Can you outline your judicial philosophy and how you approach interpreting and applying the law?
Yes. So first and foremost, the laws are made by legislature, and the legislature tells us what we can do. So you study the law and you follow the law for what you think that they want you to do. Sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes you interpret it a little differently. The beautiful thing is in our system is that you have an appellate court, and then they give their opinion as to if you applied it correctly or incorrectly. My philosophy is, has been, and continues to be access to justice first and foremost. So I want someone from Hoopa, I want someone from Garberville, I want them to be able to get to court. Between poverty, between weather, landslides in Humboldt County, Zoom has turned into this amazing ability to allow us to give access to justice to folks who can't make it to court. I often have attorneys ask me as a judge, Your Honor, do you mind if they appear remotely because they're having financial trouble? They're not able to get to court because they don't have gas money. And of course, when I hear that request, I grant it because I want those folks to be able to get here. I have been a huge advocate for our self-help because if there's any office in this courtroom that helps people get into court and fashion an argument, know the law, it's self-help. So those are things that the court, not just me, but the staff here, the managers here, we've all been trying to do that. So once you start there, then the next level is when someone comes to you and asks you to do something, whether it's sentencing, like I did today in an insanity plea, or if it's family law, where they want you to do something and you just can't do it because you have to look at the law and see what the law says. Whether it's sentencing, someone walks in front of you, there's a list of things you can look at to sentence a person. And you have to put aside your bias, and judges are trained to do that through many classes, and those classes assist you in any type of bias that you may not even know you have. And what I try to do is every person that comes in, give them the chance to speak, both sides. I often tell people at the beginning of a proceeding, I'm going to give you both a chance to speak, and I'm going to take both of that in, and then I'm going to take that information and apply the law and make a decision based on the law. Am I perfect? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I strive to do that by going to classes, serving on judicial council boards, anything I can to be a better judge, to give people the ability to give me their entire story and for me to give a fair ruling.
Thank you. And April Van Dyke, same question. What is your judicial philosophy and how do you approach interpreting and applying the law? 3 minutes.
Well, I think a lot of my judicial philosophy has to do with thoughtfulness, to be contemplative, to try to strive for justice and equality on the bench. Like Judge Christ said, we can only apply the laws as they are written, but judges do have a fair amount of discretion. I also think that continuing to learn is incredibly important for a judge. The law does not stand still. And I think that there are cases every day that are decided that change potential outcomes, changes consideration that judges need to make. And I think that it's very important for a judge to maintain up on the law. I also think that having experiences and talking to those in other jurisdictions is important. Humboldt County is a very special place, but I think at times it can be somewhat isolated. And I hope to speak with my colleagues in other jurisdictions to discuss legal advances in the court. And so I think also staying cognizant of any implicit bias. We all have them. We all have implicit biases, and the numbers bear out what these biases kind of lead to. And so I think being thoughtful and cognizant of those biases is super important in a judge. I also agree with Judge Christ that hearing from litigants, whether they be pro per, so representing themselves, not represented by an attorney, and those who are represented by an attorney should be treated equally in the courtroom. Some people cannot afford an attorney and some people can. And in cases like family law cases, they don't have a right to an attorney. And so I think it's important to treat all litigants with respect and empathy, whether or not they are representing themselves or can afford an attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. And Judge Christ, would you like to utilize your 1 minute rebuttal?
Yeah, I don't think I'll take the whole minute, but I agree. The Judicial Council gives judges continuing education for law changes. One of my mentors was Judge Cousins, who's one of the biggest criminal law educators in the state of California. I learned under him as an attorney when I was a public defender in Placer County. I continue to reach out to him. He helped me, advocated for me with the governor to be appointed. And experience in other jurisdictions, I agree. You go there, you learn. That's why I practiced in, I don't remember how many counties when I was down in Placer County as an attorney. I went the whole state of Northern California. I represented prisoners at lifer hearings. I did 40 lifer hearings for people in Northern California prisons for the Bureau of Prisons on a contract. They only paid me $25 an hour, but it was such a great experience and did teach you what other jurisdictions do, the prison system, other counties. And I still have those.
Oh, our apologies. That is time. April Van Dyke, 1 minute rebuttal.
Yes, I think that experience in other jurisdictions is important, but also continuing that education. I know we graduate from law school and pass the bar, and then we're lawyers, right? But continuing to be curious about the law, to research diligently matters of law, I think are super important, and to apply the law as it's written in the current form. Thank you.
Thank you. And April, we'll start this next question with you. It's multi-parter. What
Ooh.
is your stance on care court and mental health related rulings, and how do you perceive their significance within the Humboldt County Superior Court system? And additionally, how would you address the unique challenges they present in the judicial process? 3 minutes on the clock.
That's a great question. So right now the CARES Court is in some counties, but not Humboldt County. I think that Humboldt County needs to get into the CARES Court program. That court provides money to support those with mental health challenges, and it has the ability to really change Humboldt County as a whole. I know that we struggle immensely with mental health struggles here and in our community. So I think as soon as we can get a CARES court here, it needs to be implemented for sure. As far as mental health issues, I think anyone who spends any amount of time in Eureka knows that that's really affecting our community. When I was practicing it, I would say probably 80 to 90% of my clients had mental health challenges. It was shocking, frankly. Coming from other jurisdictions, I did not see that as much. There are various ways, and I think judicial discretion on mental health diversion motions is huge. Mental health diversion allows people who have been charged with a crime to enter into a diversion process where they can seek treatment and abide by their treatment recommendations, get services, whether those services are for drug and mental health or just simply mental health services, and then ultimately be able to earn a dismissal. And I think when we are able to address the mental health challenges in our community and give those people a dismissal, it heals those individuals and the community as a whole. And I think that our courts really need a dedicated mental health court. I think that it needs to be heard with a dedicated time slot and a dedicated judge. Thank you.
Thank you. And Judge Christ, same question. What is your stance on care court and mental health related rulings? And how do you perceive their significance within the Humboldt County Superior Court system? And how would you address the unique challenges they present in the judicial process? 3 minutes.
Well, thank you. So I've been to now 2 different conferences on care court, one just Friday, and to hear from the other courts, specifically Glenn County, smaller court and what they've been doing. I'm really hoping the county does decide to start this earlier, because that's really, they have to start it. They can postpone it if they want until 2025 or 6. I'm hoping they don't, but at the same time, we have a lot of good mental health now. We have conservatorship court, LPS court. I presided over that. I still see, I just 2 days ago, I was walking to lunch and I saw one of the people that were in conservatorship court. and she looked like she was doing great. That's what you like to see, because in 2010, when I came back up here to start working again, it was just right there, and it was so sad to see all these folks on the street, knowing it was drugs, mental health. So in line with that, I took over homeless court. COVID kind of killed homeless court, and the changes that we made to it to really follow the model of San Diego, which has been so successful. I'm hoping that gets started, but that's kind of going to be driven by Public Defender's Office. I think Care Court is a great start. It has a very limited application to the individuals who can participate in it. But I think, like anything, even if it only gets 10 people in the county, which is a number that's been thrown out by some of the smaller counties, I still think it's amazing. We have been talking about mental health court. Our issue is we are short a judge, we are short a courtroom. So what we've done is, instead of a dedicated mental health court, we address the criminal mental health for the diversion in our criminal courts. And we've tried to throw together some of the conservatorship, because that's always a great option. If the sometimes criminal court's just not appropriate. You have somebody who needs more than that, and they don't need jail, they need services. And that is the biggest barrier in Humboldt County, is services and budget to help these folks that are on the street suffering from mental illness, to get them to a place and get them the programs they need. It's a matter of providers. So it's a huge issue. I've worked with Connie Beck, trying to get, as many services as we can. So my hope is that Care Court gives us even more funding, because I think when I was in Placer County, again, there's a great mental health court, but they also had great services. San Diego for homeless court, amazing services. Humboldt County, we just don't have what we need. But I think people are working on it, and I've been working on it as assistant presiding, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you, Judge Kreis. And April Van Dyke, 1 minute rebuttal.
Thank you. I am glad Judge Kreis did mention that he is the presiding judge. And so as far as creating a homelessness court and a dedicated mental health court, and those things are the purview of what a presiding judge does. And so those things, and I am sensitive to the lack of resources that we have in the county. We are able to do a dedicated drug court on the Friday afternoons, every other Friday afternoon. And I would hope that we might be able to use that other Friday afternoon to do a mental health court, because I think it's absolutely critical for Humboldt County.
Thank you, April Van Dyke. Judge Kreis, 1 minute rebuttal.
Thank you. No, I think we agree. We need a mental health court. And as a presiding judge, I've done everything I can. But the funny thing about government, when I came from a private contract, is you get things done quicker. Government, oh my gosh, there's so many things you have to do. You have to go through the Judicial Council. You have to have a judge. You have to have a courtroom. You have to have the time. And this is something that, as a presiding judge, and the presiding judge before me have been working towards, and at some point it will happen. But with our budget, the county budget being which we have no control over, and now the court budget, where we've been advised that we can't enter any new contracts because of the budget with people, it's a challenge. But it's a challenge that's worth fighting, and we try to do things like go to Betty Chin's for homeless court, and put our feelers out there. So we'll continue to do that. I will continue to do that.
Thank you, Judge Kreis, and we're going to stay with you for this next question.
All right.
With the ongoing challenge of insufficient public response to jury duty calls, how do you perceive the impact of the crisis on the Humboldt County judicial system, and what strategies would you propose to address the issue and ensure a robust and representative pool of jurors for the fair administration of justice? 3 minutes.
So I heard you say that. So basically, this is, how do we get more jurors? to show up, right? That's the crux of the question. And I went on TV on channel, I can't remember the channel, but I went on there to implore people, please, for us to give access to justice for these folks who need jurors, we really need you to respond to your juror card. Don't just throw it away. We have batted that around. Some counties will actually send sheriffs out. Some counties will fine people. Well, this is a small county, and I certainly do not want to do that to people that are dedicating their time. I met a juror that was on a double homicide murder trial I did. I met him the other day at the Women's Club for the waffle breakfast, and he was great. He was dedicated. He didn't want to do a little small trial, as he put it. He wanted to do something big. I said, well, you did it. You did a double homicide, and that was a month of his life. So there are dedicated jurors out there. We reach out to them. We call. We do what we can to get them in there. But bottom line is that we need the registered voters, the people who have driver's license, all the places we send our cards out to respond. And my philosophy for jury duty is I'm not gonna use a stick. I want to use a carrot. Please come in. We can't, there's an amount of money we can pay them. We can't pay them more than that. It's statutorily set. I have one of my very dedicated staff members, very passionate about it. And, we've talked about some of the stick ways to do it, but I don't think any judge that sits on the bench now wants to use the stick. I think we just want to let people know that this is a civic duty. This is one of the only times in your life as a member of our society that you get to really participate in constitutional law, giving a fair chance to listen to your community member who is sitting there trying to convince you, if it's in a criminal case, that they didn't do it. And they want you to take that time, dedicate that time. So I just implore everyone who's listening today or watching on the different platforms that if you get that jury duty card, come on in. It's not that bad. You'll probably get kicked. You might get some free coffee. You might get some donuts. We do these little things that, sound funny, but it's just an appreciation for jurors. And we try to push that and show them that we do appreciate them. If I see them in the hall, I tell them. If I see them in the community, I do. So it's really up to the community to come together on that.
Thank you, Judge Kreis. April Van Dyke, same question. With the ongoing challenge of insufficient public response to jury duty calls, how do you perceive the impact of the crisis on the Humboldt County judicial system, and what strategies would you propose to address the issue and ensure a robust and representative pool of jurors for the fair administration of justice? 3 minutes.
Thank you for this question. Getting a proportionate cross-section of the community is key to getting an appropriate jury. That's, I think, what we all strive for. I know personally from living in Humboldt County, I've received many jury summonses. One I even got the week after I was supposed to come to jury service. I think that was probably a COVID snafu. But the way that we can try to make people excited about jury service is reaching out to the community and the community leaders. I think it's important to engage the parts of the community who are already have the infrastructure to reach out to registered voters, to get people civically engaged. I think that having conversations with these communities and going into the community, even contacting the Black student unions to try to get them to get students engaged in responding to jury service, contacting the local tribes. A lot of times the geography of our county can be a hindrance to people attending jury service. And so I would hope to collaborate with the local tribes and see what we can do in order to get people to jury service. And I think that's immensely important. Lots of people, I think, don't want to be on juries. But once they do serve on a jury, they like the experience. Very few people I've seen talk about how they hated being on a jury. A lot of people like the experience of being a juror. And so I think that making it the courtroom a comfortable place is super important, a welcoming place for all jurors to participate in the civic engagement. I think that is immensely important, but really leaning on the community leaders is a good way to employ people to come and do their duty.
Thank you, April Van Dyke. Judge Kreis, 1 minute rebuttal.
All right, yeah, no, I agree. Community outreach is key to let people know what goes on in here, and it's not that bad, and you might enjoy it. You know, I've gone out, spoke to high schools here as a judge, had an elementary class into court to try to get them comfortable. They made up this scenario. They had jurors, you know, to get kids to know this is a civic duty that you have. I've done the drunk driving education class, or I should say, you know, I went down to, I think it was Ferndale High, and did the drunk driving education stuff that they do. I'm lucky enough to work in tribal wellness court, which has been full circle with my education for the tribes in Humboldt County, and work with 2 judges there to kind of also do that. So I think outreach is key.
Thank you. And April Van Dyke, 1 minute rebuttal.
I also think, I mean, we have a lot of newspaper coverage on trials and those sorts of things, and so I think that sometimes people can be scared to serve on a jury. Unfortunately, I spoke to a voter on Sunday, and she said that she had jury duty 2 weeks prior to me speaking to her, and she told me that she was scared to come to jury service because of some of the coverage that she had read, in particular on Judge Kreis, and she was afraid that she would be in his courtroom. And that just broke my heart, that she was scared.
We are coming up to the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to throw it back to our engineer, and we'll be right back.
Thank you, Lauren and Lisa. This is Katie. It's KMUD, Garberville, KMUE, Eureka, KLAI, Laytonville. The time is 6:34. And support for our KMUD comes from the Redwood Coast Energy Authority, who provides services and support to the community to build energy resilience, reduce energy consumption, and expand the use of climate-friendly electric vehicles. More information at redwoodenergy.org for complete details, or at 707-269-1700. And let's go back to Studio B.
Thank you so much to our engineer, Katie Phillips. This is Lauren Schmidt hosting this live edition of the local news with candidates for Humboldt County Superior Court Judge. I'm currently joined by incumbent Judge Gregory Kreis and his challenger, April Van Dyke. Thank you both for joining us this evening. We're going to keep the ball rolling. One quick change. We've been allowing the candidates 3 minutes to answer, but for the sake of questions, we're going to reduce that time to 2 minutes, if that's okay with you both.
Yep.
And April Van Dyke, this next question, we begin with you. What specific measures do you propose to improve and strengthen relationship between the court system and tribal communities? 3 minutes.
So
2 minutes.
great. This is a great question. I did talk to the Yurok tribe. They have been so instrumental in tribal diversion. When I was at Conflict Counsel's office, I did several tribal diversion motions and was able to engage the tribe in treatment and get the tribal members support, and it just worked wonders. Seeing my clients not only succeed but thrive was fantastic. I am so proud of that work that I was able to achieve. I also think that a restorative justice program that could be culturally sensitive to the tribes would be fantastic. I know that Judge Abby does a lot of restorative justice with the Yurok tribe, and getting the victims of crime with the perpetrators of crime has been shown to have immense benefits to the perpetrator in reducing recidivism, and the victims in feeling empowered, that their voice is heard, that they have a say and input into what happens in their case, because they were the ones who were most affected by the behavior. So I think keeping the tribes engaged and continuing to check in is crucial in Humboldt.
Thank you. And Judge Christ, same question. What specific measures do you propose to improve and strengthen relationships between the court system and tribal communities? 2 minutes.
Thank you. First, let me say, if that scared voter or scared juror who is afraid of me, which she can reach out, reelectjudgechrist.com. My phone number, my personal cell phone number is there. You can email me. I would love to address this individual who said, told Ms. Van Dyke that she was for some reason scared of me. I'm not even in the criminal division. So for whatever that's worth, reach out to me. I'm a pretty nice guy. And that brings me to dependency court. I am so lucky to be working in dependency court. I have hundreds of cases that come in front of me every week. One of the best parts is I do tribal wellness court and state wellness court. Tribal wellness court is a Hoopa court one day, a Yurok court the other day. I work hand in hand with Judge Abby. I've seen Judge Abby speak at conferences. She's an amazing woman. Travel to Europe. She's everywhere. And she is what I would consider a mentor. I'm also working with Judge Blake in Hoopa County. And between the three of us, we are trying to expand for families and family wellness to make sure tribal members have all the support they need through the CWS and the tribe. It's been wonderful, and I want to continue to do that. I'd like to expand it. We've done that a little bit with state wellness court. If you're not a Hoopa or Yurok member, let's say you're from Bear River or Weop, we'll get you in there. My hope is at some point these wellness courts just grow to the point where every tribal member who needs to get involved in it will. But that's what I've been doing in court and will continue to do in dependency court. And we've seen amazing success of getting the kids back with their parents where they belong. Because that's the whole thing with dependency court. And that's why it's such an amazing court to practice in. I get to take Indian families and non-Indian families, make sure those kids are safe, get them back in their homes.
Thank you. And April Van Dyke, 1 minute rebuttal.
Just to reference what Judge Christ did indicate, what I think was concerning to the voter was the coverage about an assault that occurred between the judge and a practicing attorney. And I don't think when there is someone who is concerned or scared that they should be told to reach out to the individual that they're concerned about. And like I said, I think that was very hard to hear, that a citizen would be reluctant to appear. And I know that Judge Christ doesn't do criminal cases, but that citizen didn't. And that was her concern.
Judge Gregory Christ, 1 minute rebuttal.
Thank you. So I had a feeling that somehow Ms. Van Dyke would try to get this false allegation against me in a case. I respect an individual who's not an attorney or a judge. They read an article and, you know, in this day and age, you read something online and you think it's true. As a judge, though, you hear both sides, you make a decision. And that case, there's false allegations of a person who's suffering from a lot of issues. And luckily it went away. And I wish him the best. But for any juror out there or anyone who, you know, wants to come to court, the allegations that were made were false allegations as to any anti-Semitic. And I'm a little sad that Ms. Van Dyke would bring that up. You know, it's the low-hanging fruit, and to try to make hay out of something, you know, that's not judge worthy. You don't listen to one person and make a decision and think it's true.
Thank you, Judge Christ. Okay, the next 2 questions have been submitted by our listeners, and Judge Christ, we'll start with you. One of our listeners wants to know how you plan to ensure that the court system remains accessible to all residents, especially those with disabilities for hearing and or socioeconomic status. 2 minutes.
Thank you. You know, this goes back to what I said. One of my main things is access to justice. I've been having discussions with Placer County about this great van they have that goes out in the community. And all of that started to put itself together, but then Zoom happened. So for anybody who can't afford to get to court, if it's a criminal defendant, they talk to their lawyer. If they're pro per, they call the court and they can request to have accessibility by phone. I respect that. And actually, that is the best thing that came out of Zoom. Is that now we have this ability. We used to have court call. You would charge people for it. This is a free service. If you need to get to court and you can't get there for some reason, if you call in, any judge on the bench is going to say, okay, well, you got to be here next time, but this time we're good with that, or whatever. If it's an evidentiary hearing, sometimes you want them in person. As far as hearing, every courtroom has at least, I think, 2 hearing devices. So we provide that access to everybody. We have elevators. We have a ramp out front. So we are very accessible for people with you know, with any type of disability. Anyone who needs anything in advance, they can ask the court, hey, I'm coming into court and I need certain services. And if they do that in advance, we can respond to them very quickly. If they don't, then we respond to them in the courtroom. How can we help you hear us, or for us to hear you with whatever disability it is that you have, that you're concerned about? So I think it goes from anywhere from people with disabilities, people without disabilities, but for people. This court is dedicated. I've done that. Presiding judge before me did that to make sure everybody can get here, whether it's phone, Zoom, or hearing devices. So we'll continue to do that.
Thank you, Judge Gregory Christ. And April Van Dyke, same question. How do you plan to ensure the court system remains accessible to residents who may have a hearing disability or disadvantage due to their socioeconomic status? 2 minutes.
Yes, so for socioeconomic status, I think that Zoom is a great tool. It's the thing that we have benefited from this pandemic, and having that tool is excellent. It can help provide access where it wouldn't otherwise. I do think that we need to be cognizant of those who don't have access to internet, because that's a large portion of our population. I think that being able to call in for court is something that would be fantastic. Also, having 977 appearances where an attorney can appear for a client is great if there's not going to be anything real substantive that occurs. I also think that, well, Humboldt County, unfortunately, has the shortest clerk hours of any county in the state of California. And I think that that kind of stifles access to court. I also think that getting interpreters is crucial. I know that a lot of times the court has to call language line when they have a system where it's not a Spanish speaker, it's a different language. So I think getting in-person interpreters is crucial, and I understand very difficult. I did want to address Judge Christ saying that he was falsely accused, because I am an attorney and a settlement does not equal a exoneration or dismissal. And I was
Sorry, 2 minutes. It goes quick. Gregory Kreis, 1 minute rebuttal.
All right, thank you. So I'm not going to dwell on a case that was dismissed against me. I never did any anti-Semitic language, and that's clear. It would have gone forward if I did, because attorneys get legal fees. That was dropped. Insurance company decided to settle it. So I really don't want to talk about that, because it's really not about who I am as a judge. It's only people who don't like me or who want to take my job who will make hay out of that. So enough of that. If there is no internet, let me tell you this, you call in, happens every day. So Zoom has a call-in function. All you got to do is call. I had it today in court, and I tell people, if you don't have a phone, and if they have bad service, I'll say, take your video off, because it's a better connection when it's just voice. So we've been doing that forever. We'll continue to do that. And as far as language, I agree with April, but we do have a debt.
Oh, I apologize, Judge Kreis. April Van Dyke, rebuttal. Oh, you are muted.
Start the timer.
You got to unmute your, there you go.
sorry, somebody muted me. So I think that having access to courts is having access to justice. And I think it's super important to give all those access to justice. And so I do think that being able to have a clerk's office that's open later would be a tool that we could give to other individuals to have access to courts, because it's hard to get away from work in order to come down and get the paperwork you need to file.
Thank you. And April Van Dyke, we're going to stay with you for this next listener submitted question. Have you ever been investigated by a state entity such as the California Bar? If so, why? 2 minutes.
No, I have not been investigated by the state bar. That's the only ethics board that controls my actions. And so I think it's critical in order to have professions such as a lawyer or a judge to have these ethical entities that are responsible for us. Too many times do we see that justice is not served if there are ethical violations. I think that people hold lawyers and judges, well, some not so much about lawyers, but in high regard. We are a profession of professionals, and I think it's incredibly important to follow the rules and to show people that they can have trust in judges and attorneys. And so simple answer, I have not been, nor am I currently being investigated by an ethics board.
And Judge Gregory Kreis, same question. Have you ever been investigated by a state entity such as the California State Bar? And if so, why? 2 minutes.
So this is an interesting question. This was asked on by Dave Brose, one of one of April's supporters online. And because I have ethical duties, I actually reached out and pursuant to, and I'll just read it, California State Bar Rule 2302 and Rule 102A of the Rules of Commission on Judicial Performance, any matter before those bodies is confidential, not properly the subject of inquiry, regardless of whether an investigation is or is not pending. There are, I know, both State Bar and through the Judicial Commission investigations that go on you never know about. So because of that and my ethical duty, similarly to, I can't talk about current cases that are pending. I'm not able to talk about it, but I can say I've never been disciplined.
And April Van Dyke, 1 minute rebuttal.
Yeah, so I did look up the rules cited by Judge Christ, and the interesting part of that is that if someone is being investigated, whether that the rule under the state bar or the rule under judicial counsel investigation, the person, the judge or the lawyer who's being investigated can speak about it. So the rule clearly states the person that the complaint is filed about may speak publicly, or the judge who's being investigated may speak publicly. So if you're aware, obviously, of being investigated, that's certainly something I think that the voters have a right to know. And there's no rule that says you cannot.
Sorry, April Van Dyke. And Judge Gregory Christ, 1 minute rebuttal.
Sure. If I thought there was a serious inquiry with someone other than somebody who had a bone to pick with me, and I thought it was some type of educational thing for a voter, I might go back to my lawyer and say, I would really like to talk about it. But when you're especially a family law judge, there are many complaints I would never know about. And as a matter of fact, you don't know about the majority of cases because, you know, when people walk out of most courtrooms, half of them are happy and half of them are not. And in family law, that is even more true. So it's just not educational for who I am. What's educational for who I am is my experience, the people who back me, the fact that I've been a community member for so long and I know what this community needs and wants. So again, go to my website, reelectjudgechrist.com, and you'll see more about me.
Thank you so much, Judge Christ, and thank you also, April Van Dyke. The clock has been ticking away. We are coming up on the top of the hour, so I want to ensure that you both have 3 minutes to share your final remarks and let voters know where they can go. Judge Christ, we begin with you.
Thank you. You know, I just want people to know, you know, people who come in front of me in court, the majority of those people know that I'm fair, I listen, I have reasoned decisions, I'm knowledgeable in the law. I've sat on commissions for the Judicial Council to bolster that knowledge. There is obviously, for anyone who is a judge or even a lawyer, frankly, you're going to get unhappy people that are going to make complaints. I think it's clear to me by the end of this debate that Ms. Van Dyke is hoping that throwing rocks, throwing stones to try to bring me down will somehow, you know, throw the balance of what I feel like, and all those people on my website feel that I do a great job for the Humboldt County community. I have law enforcement, I have criminal defense, private, public defenders, I have the district attorney's office, I have the sheriff's department, I have Democrats, I have Republicans. So when you look at, again, my website and see who I have behind me, my history, how I got here, appointed by Governor Brown after a thorough vetting of all the lawyers and judges I'd appeared in front of, over 75 personal references and business references. I went in front of a Jenny Commission. It is a much more thorough vetting than any election because it's these little things. You throw something out hoping a couple of voters will believe it. Well, just look at my history. I walked into this job after a vetting, and now here I am, and the community's come behind me. And I think I've done a good job, but more importantly, the community thinks I've done a good job. A community I've been a part of since 1990 to 95, and then again 2010 until today. I live here, I work here every day, and I think all of those things give me the qualifications to be the judge you want to continue to have sitting on the bench. I can't imagine living here and practicing in San Jose, California. It's not possible as a criminal defense attorney. You got to go to jail. You got to do hearings. So I'm here. I'm here every day. I'm in the community. And I'm hoping that everybody, once they look at who's endorsing me, my history on my website, come see me at one of the events I'm going to, ask me questions, get on my website, email me questions, call my cell phone. It's right there. And we can talk about any concerns you have. And I'll be an open book for questions, that are relevant to me being a judge. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody coming out on March 5th and voting for me. I appreciate everyone here tonight giving me the chance, and April for being here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Gregory Kreis and April Van Dyke. Closing remarks with 3 minutes on the clock.
Thank you again for hosting this forum. Thank you to Judge Kreis for participating in this forum, and everyone who is listening or watching this forum. My judicial philosophy and platform is equality, inclusion, and honesty. And I really think that is in dire need for Humboldt County. I have immense respect for the bench, the current bench in Humboldt County. And I do think that there are some issues, and I have been told we don't run against a sitting judge. But what I am really excited about is that in this election, a lot of things have been talked about as far as racial justice, equality, access to courtrooms. That's amazing. It's amazing that there's a conversation like that occurring. It's funny. So my experience, I do complicated litigation, and what's great is lots of it can be done on Teams, as well as I can visit clients who are in custody if they're in prison or in jail on Zoom. So it's incredible that I'm able to be in my 3 children's lives every day and take them to school in Humboldt and drive them home. And that I have to appear very rarely because of the complicated part of my litigation. So I want to talk briefly about equality. Now, a quote from Dr. Cornel West talks about Martin Luther King Jr. called for us to be love struck towards each other, not colorblind. To be love struck is to care, to have deep compassion, and to be concerned for each and every individual, including the poor and vulnerable. And I hope to employ that aspect in my on the bench. And you can hear more about me at aprilforjudge.com or email me at april4judge@gmail.com.
Thank you both. That concludes tonight's live edition of the KMN Local News with candidates for Humboldt County Superior Court Judge. We were just joined by incumbent Judge Gregory Kreis. You can find more about his campaign at reelectjudgekreis.com. We were also joined by his challenger, public defense attorney April Van Dyke. You can learn more about her campaign at aprilforjudge.com. I've been your host, Lauren Schmidt, and I want to give a big thank you to our timekeeper, Lisa Music, and our engineer, Katie Phillips. Thank you both so very much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.